I'm Brad Hayes with Jam Notes, and we're sitting down with people behind the music, the studios, the engineers, and the creatives shaping how sound actually works. And today I'm here with Guillermo Riera from Gee Sound Records. Welcome, Guillermo. How are you?
Hi. I'm doing great. How are you, man?
I'm doing fine, thanks. So, um, how did you get into sound engineering? What pulled you into the acoustic specifically?
Well, what got me into sound is when I was little, I used to watch Sarah Brightman concerts, Pavarotti concerts, Gianni concerts, and I would love how the music got everyone together and the way the systems work to actually reproduce this music for the public. And then into acoustic was interesting because I was working for a studio, and then one day I just got there and they were telling me like, "Hey, we need some panels for the rehearsal room." And I'm like, I know how to build stuff. I know how to put together stuff. I came to the U.S. 10 years ago and I learned construction with my dad. So I just knew how to put together stuff, and I helped them with the acoustic panels for the rehearsal room. And then I figured it was while the COVID was happening, so a lot of people was moving from other states to Miami, and they were doing home studios. So I figured like, hey, there's a business opportunity here. I can build panels for people that need a home studios that they cannot go to any other studio to record and mix or whatever they needed. So yeah, that started, and here we are.
How much does the room actually affect the sound?
The main uh thing you gotta account for when you're building a studio or making a studio, because dimensions are very relevant on the response of the room. You can have any speaker, you can work with any speakers, and they have its own response. So you can definitely work with the response of the speaker, but definitely there's sound boundary interception within the room. So I think I would say is the second most important thing after the monitors.
Can great gear fix a bad room?
It definitely could. There's a lot of great gear that are doing miracles, like the Isotope RX, and there's some balance control at Trinov. They have a DSP built in, that a unit that tunes your system. Those are great tools, but definitely there's always the importance of the natural source where you capture. That's the most important thing in sound. The source, the capture, the original capture. There's nothing you can fix on that. You can spend thousands of hours working on it, but it's never the same. Never the same.
So, where do artists get it wrong about their recording setup?
They more than they get wrong is, what budget allows you to is buying cheap microphones. Cheap microphones, you can definitely hear the difference in the recording, and they sound cheap. They sound beat crushed. They sound, a little distorted sometimes. They enhance frequencies that you don't want to enhance on your vocals, so it doesn't really help you uh you know record the best take that you can actually get.
So, if somebody's going to do some recording at their home, what would they
Mhm.
fix first?
Well, if they're gonna record at home, they definitely need some acoustic treatment, because any house, any regular room, you're gonna have all those reflections, and especially if you have intro level gear, you're not gonna get a good recording. So for home, I would recommend definitely at least getting some standard acoustic panels that contain the reflections in your room, and then if you want, you can actually go into getting a better microphone. But as long as you keep the reflections to the minimum, you should be getting good recordings.
You work with both sound and lighting, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so how do those two connect?
Well, in studios, especially in the modern times, there's definitely a vibe, needed for the recording, especially when you're hanging with people. You want to create that nice vibe where people can actually, be open, because at the end it's art what we're doing, so we want to be open and vulnerable, so we really want a good ambience where we can express ourselves. So I think lighting is very important because it gives the mood of what you're trying to do, you're trying to represent. If you want a mellow song, you don't want to like to be bright and all that. You want something, warm and calm. So the way I integrate it is, I learned this experience about lighting, and how lighting can turn, your show or your event into a different level. So I adjusted that to the studios, where you can, create that space where you feel comfortable to express your art, basically.
How important is the environment to get them to a state of mind? when they come into the recording studio?
Well, I think definitely any artist has its own different approach. Some people, depending on the type of music that they do, if it's, more up tempo, more, more, maybe more aggressive, more, more rapping, I think having the hype of a lot of people in the room kind of like makes you get that best take out of you, because you got that energy from you, people behind you in the same room, because that's what happens usually now. You don't usually get into the booth anymore. You record at the same room, at the same control room, with a bunch of people in there. They could be your friends, they could be your managers, or the producers, or the composers. So you got to be used to people being there, and they can talk and stuff, but just the feedback that you get from them right then and there where you're recording a take, I think that's the best energy you can get. It would be nice if you can get the most silence you can get for the recording, but other than that, I think is the most important thing is having the support of the people or the engineer that are there, and the respect from them when you need to record. Just make silence, and respect the recording.
What about the outside noise?
Oh, outside noise is very common, especially in studios that are made at home, because the home or the space wasn't built or designed to isolate the sound appropriately from the outside. So it's kind of a compromise, yes. To build it at home, you always have that chance of maybe neighbors complaining about the music or the level of the music. Or you can get a plane coming through, or a bus, or the train,
Right.
depends on where you live. But it's very important that you understand that that's a chance that you can happen, and just try to maybe record on times that where you're not gonna get any of those interruptions, or those accidents, if you call them like that.
What's one change that someone could make today that would immediately improve their sound?
Getting a good mixing engineer. If you know how to record yourself, if you know how to, if you got good gear, or you went to a studio and recorded, definitely the best part is getting a someone that knows what they're doing with the sounds, getting it to the best of the quality that they can get. Because for
Mhm.
sure you can get a good recording from the beginning, for sure you can get a good music, or good, rhythms, but definitely it's gotta be congruent. It's gotta have that feeling that the music and the vocals are all together, because what happens right now is people just get music from YouTube and they just sing on it, but it feels like the vocal doesn't go with the song, so they feel like separate. So that's why you need an engineer that knows how to blend them together, so it sounds like as a unison.
Is a bad room more noticeable when recording or when mixing?
Okay, so that's a tricky question. Yes, it's both, I would say, because recording you can definitely hear in the microphone, especially if you're capturing vocals. Definitely you can hear the room, because the microphone records what's in the room, not what is projected at the microphone, depending on the type of microphone that you use. But definitely it's capturing whatever is happening within the room, so you can definitely hear the room when you're recording. And when you're mixing, I would say, if you don't got the correct space, and if you got speakers, you can always resort to headphones, which is a good result. But if you have a subwoofer in your room, definitely, if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know how your room is tuned, or the dimensions of the room, or what's the frequency response of your room, you might be chasing ghosts a lot, because that stereo image might be distorted, and the sub frequencies might be, a little. You can have a null, you can have a valley, you can have a peak, and if you don't notice what you're doing, then you can definitely mess up some mixes.
So why do so many home recordings sound off even when the gear is decent?
The ignorance of not knowing how the room response is, because if you actually knew how the room is responding to your speakers, you can mix accordingly. You can balance for what you're missing, or reinforce what you don't have. But if you don't understand what's going on in your environment, you're definitely making the wrong decision. It's like trying to be a graphic designer, or like trying to be a colorist for videos, and you're using a maybe a black and white screen, using an old
Right.
screen that doesn't represent the colors fully. So yeah, it's a matter of knowing how the environments affects your decisions. That's very important.
So, are there certain frequencies that give away a poorly treated room immediately?
Yeah, definitely. The sub frequencies can tell you right away. Sub frequencies can tell you right away when you don't have a room treated. And in the mid range, the low mid range area where you have like 250 hertz up to like 700, you can definitely tell if the room wasn't treated correctly, or that if you didn't have any, you know, acoustic treatment, or if you're mixing with or without a sub, for sure.
What's the hardest thing to control in a room? Is it low end reflections or something else?
Yeah, definitely the low end. It's one of the most challenging. Depth. The sub frequencies are usually long in their traveling, so you definitely need depth to tame those low frequencies. And the solutions, not only you need depth, but you need a lot of material for that to build those. So you need a lot of space. So that means
Mm-hmm.
if you need to, you know, treat your room and you want to start from scratch, you definitely need a room where you have a lot of space. You can get rid of those sub frequencies, so your room sounds tight and it doesn't shake the whole room.
What's the biggest mistake people make when they're trying to fix their room?
I think the most common mistake is they just buy that open cell foam, the black one, and then just slap it all over the walls. It's really not the best solution because it only helps you with the high end of the spectrum, but also it's ugly and it's so hard to stick on the walls that you're just gonna end up ripping, or they're just gonna end up falling. You're gonna end up ripping the paint, and yeah, it's a cheap solution. But if you're trying to do this professionally and you're trying to, you know, look good, I don't think that's the best solution, and I think that's the biggest mistake that people do.
Do foam panels actually work if they are a certain thickness or size, or do you just recommend staying away from foam panels?
I would recommend staying away from the foam panels that you can get off Amazon, maybe eBay. There's definitely some closed cell panels or foam panels that are very recommended. I would say that there's some companies that are big companies that they actually do a good job with their foam. But it's also gets very expensive when you're using the right foam. So I would suggest turning back into acoustic panels because
Mm.
it's a cheaper solution in the matter of uh, building it and getting it and installing them. Because if you're trying to install those closed cell foam panels, again, you're using double-sided tape on the walls and they fall, or you're using like glue and it's just sticking into the wall. So yeah, there's no way you can really repair that until you really paint the wall again. And you gotta strip it and sand it. And my panels are really just like I put 3 screws on the wall and that's it. And then you can patch them with some putty and get them replaced, and it should be all good.
When you design a room, what's the first thing you think about? Is it the space? Is it the height of the room?
Well, the first thing I try to look on is the results that the customer wants to get. The first question I'll be asking is, do you want to just record in this room, or you want to mix and master? Like how in depth are you into this process? If they're just like, you know, an artist that wants to record themselves, I'm just doing a design where it can tame the reflections. So I would get the measurements and the pictures of the room if I'm not able to pass by the space to check it out. I would just plan accordingly with the dimensions of the room. I'll put in a modeler in software that I use. It's called Room EQ Wizard, and I get the dimensions. I analyze where's the main reflections of the speaker monitors, and then I'll place them accordingly to the first and second reflections, the ceiling, and the back wall.
Is there ever a perfect room, or is everything a compromise?
Everything is a compromise. Everything is always a compromise between budget, aesthetics, and the application. Every time is a compromise. There's close to perfect rooms, but they're so expensive to design and so heavy engineering has to go through it that I would say you're getting closer to an anechoic chamber if you want to get great better results. So I wouldn't say there's a perfect room for the purpose of creating music, but the perfect room is the one that fits your needs.
Have you ever walked into a room and immediately known something was wrong?
Oh, several times, several times. I have gone to many studios. I have visited many studios, and you can see all the uh, types of treatments. You can see maybe there's no treatment in the rooms, but yeah, for sure. As soon as I walk into any space, I automatically feel uh, the ambience of the space. Like if I walk into a hall, I walk into a studio, I walk into an office, a bedroom, I automatically feel the room and how it sounds. And you can find me sometimes clapping because I just want to know what's going on.
So, what's a transformation you've seen where fixing the room completely changed the result?
Yeah, there's this one room I did in a music school. It was pretty large, and it had one of the walls was full glass. And I was there with my brother, and my brother has never helped me putting acoustic panels ever. We had to put in that room about 27 pounds to make it sound decent because they were going to rehearse, and see, it was so large that the way they had it structured, the vocalist was going to be too far away from the drummer. So because if they're close, you know, the same source is going to travel all that far, so that was going to create more reflection. So we had it set up in a way where the vocalist was away from the drummer. And that room, I just started with 10 panels on one wall, and it made a huge difference. I have that on video, and my brother was so impressed. He's like, there's no way just 10 panels are doing a difference. I can't wait for what 27 panels are going to do to this room.
Wow. So, I want to talk about noise, layout, and even lighting. How does that change the way that people perform or mix? I mean, can you see a transformation in the talent itself?
The noise layout, you know, it's different in every room, because I've gone to studios where they're supposed to be built accordingly to isolate all the other rooms that are happening, that are, you know, are recording or playing music, and I have heard sound leak through the rooms. So um there's definitely, for sure, you can work with that. But then I realized that, hey, this space wasn't built correctly. You know, you're building several studios in one space, then you're not doing the right designing for this. You're not doing the right engineering. And then, for sure, the rooms look great with the lighting. They have, you know, 7,000 feet of LED strips everywhere. The color moves, they react to sound, but then the room doesn't sound appropriately. So maybe you could have cut back those costs in lighting and added to acoustics, you know.
If someone is serious about their sound, what should they focus on the most that most people overlook?
Well, if you're very serious about your sound as an artist, at least, you definitely got to work with the right people. Definitely got to get a team of people that follows your, or not follows, but that understand your vision. Because you can have a good sound. I work with artists that they have a great sound, and they don't know how they got to it. They just, you know, got a template from, I don't know, from the internet, and they sound great, but they don't really know what they're doing. And I've worked with artists that they don't sound as good, and they believe that they're the greatest artists on earth. So, you know, it's a compromise of understanding people that are working for your project to actually go to the next level, and being open and leave your ego out of the door to understand, like, if you're um, asking for help or hiring a professional, that you're definitely doing the right thing, and accepting that feedback that you're getting from your team.
I want to thank you very much for taking your time talking to me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, man. Likewise. Thank you for
If
everything.